Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing, man? Antonelli here.
Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're going to talk about what happens when you get drafted. I've gotten asked this question a lot, and so I've been drafted twice in my life, once out of high school and then once again out of college. And they were a little bit different each time. And I've spent a lot of time talking about what happens when I got drafted out of college. I went in the first round, but I haven't spent a ton of time talking about what happened out of high school when I went in the 19th round. And so let's talk about both, because I do think it depends on how high you are drafted, okay? So when I was drafted in the 19th round out of high school, I actually expected to go in like the 5th or 6th round. That's what I was told. Didn't happen. Went in the 19th round. When you get drafted in the 19th round, back then there were a lot of rounds. There was like 40 or 50 rounds or something outrageous back then. There's a lot less rounds today. I guess either way though, 19th round, not super high. And so when I got drafted, I had to negotiate my contract, but nobody flew to my house like they did out of college in the first round. Basically, everything was just done over the phone. And I had an agent, my agent would help me. And so they offered me $165,000. I think that's what it was for the 19th round, which is very high. That's more like 5th or 6th round money back then. And I think what happened was, because I was going to Wake Forest, I think they were afraid that if they drafted me in the 5th or 6th round, I was going to go to school and they were going to lose that draft pick. So they waited. And when the 19th round came around and I was still there, they said, okay, let's take a shot here in the 19th and see if we can convince them to sign. So they offered me $165,000. I talked about it, thought about it, and said, you know what, that just doesn't seem like enough. I had a pretty big college scholarship. And so I said, I valued my college education. And I also said, if I go to college, I can improve and get drafted higher. So I said, no, I don't want 165. I won't do it. I'll do it for 225. Now, looking back, that would have been a bad idea or a bad decision. Now they said, no, we can't go to 225, so I went to college. That's how the negotiations worked. It was very quick, very simple. I didn't talk to anyone in person. It was just kind of over the phone. Now let's fast forward to 3 years later. I get drafted in the first round out of college. When you get drafted in the first round, well, I guess it doesn't always have to happen this way because a team could have 2 first-round picks, but the Padres had 1 first-round pick. It was me. I was the only guy. And so I'm their most important person to sign. And so what happens there? Well, you get drafted. Pretty shortly after that, a couple days later, I had a scout fly to my house. The scout that drafted me actually flew to my house. They called me up. They said, hey, Matt, we're going to come to your house. We're going to fly to your house and we're going to start negotiating this contract. I said, okay, cool. That sounds good. So they fly up. They get to my house. Pretty quickly after getting there, they said, hey, we're going to get you signed today. I said, I'm going to sign today? They said, yeah, we're going to get this done today. I was like, oh. I didn't know that. I didn't know how any of this worked. I thought they were just coming to kind of give me an offer, start to like meet me and all that stuff. They already met me, I guess, just to get to know me a little bit better. By that point, it's a little too late. You already drafted me, but that's what I thought. So I called my agent and I said, hey, the Padres are here and they told me I'm signing today. And he said, no, you're not. And I said, well, they told me I was. And he said, no, we're not signing today. At this point, no one else had signed. No other first-round picks had signed. So I was like, okay, you want me to tell him this or do you want to tell him this? He's like, well, give him the phone. Let me talk to him. So they talked for a while. And so that's how it started. So it started a little bit awkward. Here I am. The guy's telling me I'm signing today. I didn't know this. My agent isn't here. He couldn't get there that quickly. And so we end up sitting down and we talk. And we negotiate back and forth pretty much for almost the entire day. They end up offering me $30,000 under slot value. Slot value is just a value that the Major League Baseball places on that draft position. And so for my draft position, it was 1.575 million, I believe is the number. And so they offered me $30,000 under that. Well, my agent wasn't too happy. He said, what the hell? Why are you getting paid under slot value? He said, no. So then he said, well, we want over slot value. So then they went back and forth for basically the entire day. And eventually, later that day, we ended up signing for exactly slot value. Okay, so I did sign that day. And I talked to my agent throughout the day multiple times. And essentially, what I expressed to him is I said, listen, I'm not looking to make the absolute most money possible here. Could I like hold out? Could we continue to fight back and forth and continue to negotiate and make a couple extra $1,000? Like, yeah, I guess we probably could have. But I'm making a lot of money. I have like $16 in my wallet right now. That's a lie. I probably had $2 in my wallet, okay? And I said, I want to play. And if they offer me slot value, which is considered fair by Major League Baseball, I'll take that. I'll sign for it. Let's go play. And so I did. And I ended up being like the first rounder, I believe, to sign. And so I was all excited. I was a San Diego Padre officially. And my parents said, let's go celebrate. We took Ash, the scout, out to eat, and we went to the Outback Steakhouse. Lucky you. Ash got a nice Outback special. That's what I got, at least, with a bloomin' onion, maybe a cheese fry. I mean, those are the best. My wife doesn't like chain restaurants, but I'll tell you what, you know, the steak, I don't know if it's real steak or not, but I'll still crush those cheese fries and onion bloom, that bloomin' onion. Unbelievable, like 8,000 calories in one of those things. You'll put on 20 pounds if you eat one, but it's fine, tastes good, that's all I care about. Anyways, so after that, what happens? Well, now I got to get my stuff together because I've got to go play. I've signed. I'm ready to go. Short season ball is starting soon. Before I fly to Eugene, Oregon, that's where they send me. They send me to short season A ball. Before I do that, they fly me out to San Diego. So I get out to San Diego. I get to meet the team. I come in the clubhouse, I get to meet some of the players. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm the new pick. You meet some of the front office. You say hello to them. You do some interviews. I got to meet Tony Gwynn. I got to go on television. So they had me up during the game. There was a game going on. I forget who they played, maybe the Dodgers or something like that. I get to go on television, talk a little bit with Tony Gwynn. That was really fun and exciting. Also got to throw the first pitch out. It's the first time I ever threw a first pitch out. I threw it to Jake Peavy, I think, caught me. I put it in there pretty good. The number one rule when throwing out a first pitch is don't bounce it. And so I put it a little bit high, probably a ball. He might have chased, maybe get him chased a high heater up out of the zone, but I made sure not to bounce it. I actually wanted to throw it in front of the mound because I was like, I don't want to screw this up. And they're like, no, get on the mound, get on the rubber. So I got on the rubber on my nice dress shoes and everything, fired that thing out in there. No warm-up pitches, just went at it cold, but I threw that thing in there pretty good. The fans all cheered, yay, whoop-de-doo. They weren't cheering a few years later when I hit 200, but that's okay. They cheered for me for a little bit there. So I got to do that. Also got to hit batting practice with the team. So I get to go out there, hit some BP before the game with the team, field some ground balls, throw some balls across. Now, I didn't realize that I was going to do all this, so I didn't bring any of my gear or equipment. I actually shipped all that stuff up to Eugene, so I didn't have to lug it around the country. And so I got there and I had nothing. I had no bat, I had no batting gloves, I had no glove, I had no cleats, I had nothing. So I ended up going around the clubhouse with a bunch of big leaguers trying to get a bunch of equipment. Woody Williams gave me some cleats, and I believe he gave me a bat too. I had no batting gloves. Mike Piazza, I almost asked Mike Piazza for batting gloves because he was right near me in the locker room, but I was like, I can't go up to Mike, hey, Mr. Piazza, can I have some batting gloves, please? I forgot mine. No, I couldn't do that. So I just went out there and hit with no batting gloves. And my glove, I don't even remember who gave me the glove, but somebody gave me a glove. Anyway, the most embarrassing thing ever is I always hit with batting gloves. I get very soft skin, baby skin. And so I take like my first round of BP and I'm hitting pretty good. Hit a couple home runs, hitting the ball pretty well. I get out of the first round of BP. I look at my hands, they're bleeding. I tore all my skin off, literally from like 10, 15 swings, like nothing. And my hands are killing me. So some of the front office behind the batting, call it a turtle, they look at my hands and are like, geez Louise, what the hell happened? I'm like, well, I usually wear batting gloves and I didn't bring mine, so now my hands are a disaster. Like, well, don't keep hitting. Like your hands they look terrible, man. Like, go get those things fixed. So I got like 10, 15 swings and that was it. And then I had blood all over my hands and then I had to go up to Eugene and start the season with messed up hands. That's okay. So all that happened, okay? That's what happened in San Diego. Then I jump in a plane, I fly up to Eugene, I get to Eugene, and we start playing like right away. The season started, a few days later. Ended up being moved into my hotel room. That's where they put us all, in a hotel room. Usually you get, might get a host family, got one in single A, you usually get an apartment, but in this particular situation, I got put in a hotel room. I'm like combining a bunch of stories here into one. We could talk about all these separate things, but these are all just kind of popping into my head. I envisioned having my own hotel room, like this beautiful big suite. I open up the door, there's two like little beds in there. There's a guy on one of the beds, no shirt on, tattoos on his arms. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? It was David Freese, who ended up being one of my buddies. And I went on to win a World Series and an MVP, a World Series MVP, which was pretty cool. But I vividly remember walking in and being like, oh, I have a roommate. And I wasn't expecting that. But it turned out great. He was a great guy and a great player. And so that's what happened. Then we started the game. And a lot of people ask me about David Freese because he was like, we'll have to look this up, maybe like an 8th round, 9th round pick, maybe a little bit higher, maybe 6th, 7th round pick, something like that. The first time I ever saw David Freese hit on the field, I said, that's the best guy on this team. Like, first practice, I was like, that guy's better than all of us. Because some people are like, man, like, what was he like? He wasn't a super high pick. That is a high pick, but it wasn't like a first rounder or a second rounder. But geez, he was driving the ball the opposite field for home runs and BP. He was huge, big, strong guy, but had a really good arm, good feet for a big guy. Very good defensively. I'm telling you, out of all the players I saw, like he was the first one immediately I saw, and I was like, that guy's the best guy out here. He was very impressive. So good pick, Padres. Too bad they traded him. Anyway, so that's kind of how it goes when you get drafted. At least if you're a high draft pick, that's what happens after the draft. Again, I don't know what round that stops. I don't know if that's just the first round. Maybe it's the first couple of rounds. All I know is I didn't get it in the 19th round, and I got it in the first round, okay? So if you have any more questions, let me know in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. We'll talk to you later. If you've enjoyed this video and want to learn more about building the elite swing, check out our new course. We have over 2 hours of content, almost 30 hitting drills. We break down the exact mechanics that you're going to want to implement into your swing. I've put the link in the description if you want to go check it out.